on my skin. Pull me close, take me in. Just me, just you. Lost in the moment.
Hello once again, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Global Online Open. We are in week 6, and right now we get the privilege of talking to Ben and Cameo. Hello, guys. How you doing?
Good.
Good. How are you, Rob?
Excellent. Thanks very much. Ben, mate, I'm going to start with you. Tell us where it is that you are from and how dance journey really began for you.
I am from Livermore, California, which is like San Francisco East Bay area. We're 45 minutes out. We're just barely on the cusp of no longer being allowed to call ourselves Bay Area, but we're still there. I started when I was 11 years old at Two Left Feet Dance Center in Danville, California, which is about 20 minutes from here. I slowly fell in love with it, and then when I was about 14, I started working at the studio, started going to the studio 5 nights a week, fell in love with the dance more and more and more, and now I'm here.
And this was all West Coast Swing?
This was all West Coast Swing. I'm one of the rare ones that actually started where I ended.
And Cameo, what about you?
I was born in Denver, raised in Phoenix, spent some time in Chicago, and now I'm living in Livermore with Ben.
We make out.
Most people know, but in case people don't, my parents, Michael and Amber Cross, are West Coast Swing dancers. They may or may not be pretty awesome. So I started my dance journey in West Coast Swing and ballet, tap, jazz, gymnastics, musical theater. At age 9, I took more of a focus into classical ballet. For college, I went to the University of Arizona. I have a degree in dance. And after college, I found my way back to West Coast Swing when I was living in Chicago before I moved back to California.
So the versatility, how do you find kind of having that versatile background and then coming back to West Coast Swing to, I imagine, would be your parents' delight, that's for sure.
I find it's very advantageous for me. Thank you for asking. You were asking her directly. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, sweetie.
It was definitely a challenge, especially because I knew the dance as a child and then left it and then came back to it. I kind of thought I knew more than I did coming back in. So it definitely was a journey to hone into the improvisational side of West Coast Swing and really getting back in touch with learning the rules of the dance so I could find the opportunities to use all of the training that I have. And now that I better understand that, it's lots of fun.
So how did this dance partnership form?
Actually, so we were at the VIP All-Star Open, which is an event that Barry Jones ran for 1 year down in Burbank. I believe that was in 2011. And at the time, I actually had a classic partnership with Olivia Ogden that was a little bit kind of more just for the fun of it and kind of to get something on the floor. And a professional partnership with Tara Trabser. We danced in Showcase. So I actually had 2 partnerships at the time. I was competing both divisions. And I went to the VIP All-Star Open, and Barry asked me if Olivia was there. And I said, no, she couldn't make it this weekend. And I half playfully looked at him and said, well, I'll just find a partner and see if I can throw something together before tomorrow night. His response, because he didn't understand that I was half joking, was overwhelmingly excited. And so I thought, all right, I'll try to do this. And then I ended up actually drawing Cameo in the All-American Jack and Jill like about an hour and a half later. And it was a lot of fun. And I asked her if she wanted to throw something together that night. We choreographed in about an hour.
Had about another 2 or so hours of practice before Classic the next night.
And we got second. So that was pretty cool. And then a few months later, things didn't quite work out with the other partnerships, and I was solo for a stint.
And I had just moved from Chicago to California.
And so with her move to California, the fact that we had danced together a few months before with a 1 hour thrown together routine, I thought that was a pretty good sign. And so I talked to her about it at the US Open that year. She decided that she wanted to move forward with it. We were dance partners for 3 years, and then we've been together for another 3 years.
Romantically.
Indeed. So 6 years total.
How many routines have you guys put out on the floor now?
That we are willing to count, or actually all of them?
I love it. Let's go with all.
All right. So there was Rolling in the Deep. That was the 1 hour routine we did at the VIP All-Star Open. There was Fort Knox, which no one remembers, and
because we never did it at the Open.
That was our throwaway routine. Then we did Too Close, which was a lot of fun. Then we did New Kings. Then we did Devil with a Blue Dress. Then we did
Eleanor
Rigby, which was like the 3 different versions of Beatles' Eleanor Rigby, and then Shout, and then our most recent was Feeling Good by Nina Simone. So 7 total.
In this original process or in this original platform, kind of how long does it kind of take you to typically put one of those routines together?
It depends.
Yeah.
They've gone everywhere from 3 hours.
That was Devil.
To, I don't know, maybe 10.
Yeah. To get a rough skeleton put together.
Yeah.
Usually, I would say like an average of 6-7 hours.
For us, we call the choreography process and choreography, quote unquote, done is when we have a skeleton, when we've got at least movement for every count. It may not have a full arm or head. We may end up changing sections, but for us, we usually time ourselves in getting a full skeleton.
And how was this process for you, kind of being given the music kind of last minute and then having to come up with something pretty much on the fly?
That was probably the thing I was most excited about. I find that a lot of times with routine, putting too much thought into it can very easily make the choreography kind of convoluted and overthought. And a lot of times the thing that just feels the best, it may not feel like it has the highest level of difficulty, or it has the most creative or artistic dynamic, or something to that effect, but it just feels good. A lot of times is the right thing for that moment. I find that we're super guilty of it, and I am familiar enough with other people's process that they're familiar with it as well, that it is really easy to get in your own head when you have more time, kind of overthink certain sections rather than, this feels good, okay, we'll keep it. And that was a little bit more how this process kind of went down. And so hopefully we get to do more, because it was a lot of fun.
And Cameo, how about the added element of video?
It was lots of fun, because that isn't really something that we get to do. We're always setting up the stage for the ballroom, for kind of the 3 walls where we mostly focus on the front, where the judges are. To know that you can add an extra creative element into it was lots of fun.
And I've also seen a lot of 4-dimensional routines through the video process that's been submitted. Ours, I felt like we still kind of matched it to the 3 walls type of idea. And I feel like that really worked for how we actually performed it, because we ended up performing it in Hamburg at an event that we were actually teaching. We did an extra demo on Sunday night, and it was tons of fun. So we actually performed it to a crowd that was on one side of the wall. But I've been seeing a lot of kind of 4-dimensional, and that's been really cool to watch, because that's really unusual within at least the competitive routine formats in West Coast Swing.
And I think that's a really cool element for the dancers in our community to get the chance to use.
Yeah.
Performing it to a crowd out in Hamburg, eh? That's one way of drumming up more votes.
Yeah, there may have been some strategy there.
We just really liked the venue.
Yeah, actually, that. I mean, I don't mean to throw in a shameless plug. There's a lot of events that we work. We love all of them. Anchorfest, it is a really cool venue. We were really excited to look at the schedule and know that was going to be during our 3-week process.
It was also really cool. This is I love the concept of the global online open and having couples from all across the world. From
Livermore, choreographing in Cologne, performing in Hamburg.
Rubber stamps the whole thing, right?
Yeah, Yep. Felt right.
So we're going to get a little deep here. What does West Coast swing mean to you?
I mean, it's cliche, but it is my life. Being born into it, getting to travel with my parents, seeing their journey, now being on kind of a similar journey, being able to dance with the person I love, it's my life. And again, I know that sounds cliche, but I don't have a better way to put it.
For me, it basically comes down to community, family, and art, and some combination of all of those things. I've been in this for almost 20 years. Started when I was 11. I'm 29 now. So yeah, getting close, like 18, 19 years. And I've developed a ton of friendships that's basically turned into family in this dance. And then on top of that, being able to take those relationships and being able to help other people develop their art and their joy and their artistry within their art and their creativity is pretty tremendous. And I'm really grateful that I get to do that on pretty much a daily basis.
So if we were to fast forward probably 5-10 years from now, what do you think West Coast swing would look like? More from a social standpoint first.
I know that there are a few things in our head, especially recently, that we've been toying around with to help grow the dance and help move it in a slightly more accessible direction. As I said earlier, I'm one of the rare ones, the weird ones that actually started in West Coast swing and then stayed there. Most people get into it from another dance, whether it was country, line dancing, ballroom, Lindy, salsa, any of the above. And I feel like we don't have a very applicable and representative feeder dance in America. And so I think when West Coast swing has been most successful, I don't necessarily want to move it back towards like hardcore party scene, because I actually like that the community socially has moved in a little bit more of a family friendly direction while still like allowing people to be adults and enjoy the party and kind of being able to blend the two, which is a very fine line sometimes. And I think our community is developing a really good system to do that well. But our dance has been most successful in growing when it's had feeder dances out in bar scenes, because it's more applicable and it's more accessible to a lot of people. And so I guess personally, our hope, because it's something that we've been toying around with and brainstorming on, is that we have multiple feeder dances set up through all over the country, through bar scenes, nightclubs, dance studios as well, but kind of all of the above, to reach out to more people. And we have more representative feeder dances of kind of transitioning to West Coast swing and then making that transition make more sense, because West Coast swing is very difficult for people to get into and kind of get over what I call the social dancing hump, where it takes pretty consistent hard work for about 5 to 6 months before you can really get to a point where you're even enjoying social dancing. So we lose a lot of people in that time. So my hope is that we're able to figure out feeder local communities in different ways to grow the community to where it's more accessible. People understand what you say when you say West Coast swing, and we don't have to do a 10-minute explanation on what West Coast swing is and what it looks like. And just trying to make the dance more accessible to more people. I hope within 5 to 10 years, we're able to increase the community by minimum 50, 60%.
How about from a creative or competitive standpoint, Cameo? What are your thoughts there?
So something Ben and I have been talking quite a bit about is starting to create a platform for dancers to create. So having something in addition to our competitive creative platform, there would
classic showcase rising star.
That there would also be a place for people to just create as artists, right? So I would love to see in a pure creative platform being able to pull into like the theatrical side of things where, because it's not a competition, you can have the time to come in, do a dress rehearsal, ask for lighting, ask for video to be a part of your production, props, whatever it takes, because it's not a competition. We don't have to set an even platform for the competitive side of things. And that really speaks to me, coming from all the years that I spent in the theater. And a lot of my time in college, I got to do choreography and spend the time with the lighting designer and the costume designer, really bringing my full vision to life with all the creative tools at my disposal. Something else that Ben and I have been brainstorming is a music and dance festival platform, really not only letting dancers use their art, but starting to have dancers and musicians collaborate, since that's what we do already, but getting to have the dancers and musicians collaborate in a live setting.
Well, we wish you all the very best with where it is that you plan on going with this dance and your journey continuing on from here.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy. Love you mucho.
Thanks very much for your time, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.